at the same time, it's not getting out, it's just how you get out. I was thinking about this.
Well, you wanted a vindication, and it was my first case, and I wanted an outright win. And then we got into the real world, and the state didn't want to take a chance of losing outright, and we didn't want to take a chance of you staying in jail for the rest of your life.
Well, like I say, I guess time and history will determine whether or not the right decision was made.
I think being out of jail an hour and a half later was proof enough that you made the right decision.
Yeah. I went on out, and the judge, you have to raise your right hand and tell the truth. I needed to defy, and I knew I needed to defy. So when he asked me to raise my right hand, that I was telling the truth, I raised my left hand. None of my supporters in court saw it, but the district attorney saw it and he looked at me. But he didn't say anything. The judge didn't notice it. And in a way, I was kind of glad, because it really would have may have been an embarrassing situation, and it may not have turned out the way it did, because I probably would have continued to raise my left hand. We pull on away from Angola, and I guess I've been moving ever since.
We love our new home. Lots of windows, great light.
But the birds.
At least Geico makes bundling our home and car insurance easy.
Why are these birds so angry?
For bundling made easy, go to geico.com.
I was making so much money with DoorDash. I wanted to earn money in my free time, but I didn't want to go out and get a boring 9 to 5. That's when I found out how much money my friend was making with DoorDash. There are opportunities in over 4,000 cities. Signing up was super easy. And before long, I was already making deliveries. Now, I get to make my own schedule and keep 100% of my tips. Download the DoorDash driver app and get started today.
I may be free landowner, but I ain't going to never
When Body Shop founder Anita Roddick heard about Robert's release in the Angola Support Committee, she visited Albert. Her backing helped bring their campaign to worldwide attention.
Despite the compelling evidence of a terrible miscarriage of justice, Wallace and Woodfox remain behind bars here. in solitary confinement now for 34 years.
If there is any case that requires some type of judicial scrutiny, it is this case.
Today I'm announcing that the Judiciary Committee in the House of Representatives will hold hearings on what is commonly known as the Angola 3. Robert King, who's to the left of me, served 29 years in solitary confinement in Angola for a crime that he did not commit. However, there are two gentlemen that are still in Angola with 2 weeks shy of 36 years in solitary confinement for a crime that they most likely did not commit, which is why we're here today.
You have to be kidding. Solitary confinement for almost 36 years? That's just wrong. I mean, by any stretch of the imagination, it's just wrong. So I've realized, once again, we look like a backward state doing something inhumane to people. So I got involved and I said, how can I help?
In March 2008, Cedric Richmond visited Herman and Albert in CCR, and he brought a colleague from Washington with him.
I was at Angola prison. Those of us who were there had the most animated, thoughtful, intelligent discussion. These people, their spirit isn't broken. I want to pledge to you to secure the release of those two incredibly brave men who withstood the terror and oppression of the failed criminal justice system in our society.
It was days after Congressman Conyers and myself visited Angola that Herman and Albert were released from solitary confinement. I don't even think it was a week. They released him and put him in a dormitory-style setting.
There's only one chairman of the House Judiciary Committee. I presume that may have had some effect upon them. They knew I wasn't down there to get a front seat for the rodeo.
I'm able to look out the window now because we have a larger window, and I'm right there where the moon comes out. I saw the full moon. It may be small, but it makes a big difference.
Well, on September 11th, 2008, Judge Brady of the federal court in Baton Rouge overturned Albert's conviction.
This is just the latest in the saga concerning the Angola 3. A federal judge, James Brady, says Louisiana must release Albert Woodfox on bail or drop the charges.
Woodfox's attorneys say he'll leave Angola once he finds a suitable place to live. Many supporters believe the Angola 3 were framed for their political activism.
A few weeks later, Albert was taken out of Angola, but he wasn't being released. He was sent 250 miles north to a new prison, while Herman was sent 100 miles south to the Hunt Correctional Facility, both thrown back into solitary confinement. The man responsible for the fate of the Angola 3 and the man convinced they should stay in jail for the 1972 murder is Louisiana Attorney General Buddy Caldwell.
The real issue was Hezekiah Brown and the other witnesses, were they telling the truth, and did a jury believe them? And that is where the rubber meets the road. So that's why I stress we're looking at a technical argument as to whether you want to technically get somebody off and exclude Hezekiah Brown's testimony, which is important eyewitness testimony, some 30 years later. That's the remaining issue that we have.
You have a federal court here that said Albert's right to counsel was violated, that his right to due process was violated, that his right to cross-examine the witnesses against him was violated, and those aren't mere technicalities. Those are core constitutional rights.
I would say the jury is charged in every case to look at the credibility. They can take all or some or part of what a witness says and judge that to be a truth and put it in perspective.
Well, the jury system is a great system, but it only works when the jury has all of the relevant evidence in front of them. And in a case like this, when the state has a continuing pattern of hiding important evidence, it's impossible for the jury to render a meaningful decision because they don't know that witnesses have been bribed. They don't know that witnesses have changed their stories.
I feel good about this record and that it is a good record. We'll have to address the legal issues in court.
But while the state prepared to appeal, Caldwell faced the prospect of Albert leaving prison on bail.
The judge was quite impressed, I think, with our evidence. I think he's inclined to release Albert. The state wants to say Albert is a danger to society. I don't think it's going to impress the judge one bit.
I'm trying to deal with what I have in front of me, which is I'm waiting on a federal judge. If he rules to let the man out, I believe it would be a serious mistake. If I thought the man was innocent, I'd go open the jailhouse door up and let him go right now.
A former Black Panther could be spending even more time in jail thanks to aggravated rape and armed robbery charges dating back 4 decades. Now, Attorney General Buddy Caldwell says he will pursue 6 aggravated rape cases and 6 counts of armed robbery if Woodfox is released before a retrial on the murder charge.
The prosecution never charged Albert with a rape because the women who were raped did not identify Albert as the rapist. But of course, Attorney General Caldwell didn't explain that to people.
Lord, let's help Albert Woodfox is making a fool out of all y'all. You know, but he ain't gonna make a fool out of me.
The fact that Albert was a Black Panther at Angola in 1972, the fact that he was trying to reform the prison, what Albert was doing at that time was messing with the status quo. And we don't let our black men do that in this country.
We gone past that era. You know, we've talked about nooses hanging in trees out here, and whether that's a civil rights violation for somebody to put a noose in a tree. Well, guess what? The ultimate civil rights violation is brutally murdering this man.
Albert's bail application was abandoned in a climate of racial tension.
When a white man stands up and says, this black man is a rapist, these are words that go back for hundreds of years. This has always been a tactic used by racists to discredit black men.
While Herman and Albert attempted to get their convictions overturned, the Angola Three began a civil lawsuit to challenge the legality of their prolonged solitary confinement.
They see their fight as being something that of course they had to fight, and that they weren't doing on their own behalf, that they are fighting for all of the people in solitary confinement.
The danger in a case like this is after 30 years, all the witnesses start dying. So if you can outlast them, maybe you can go free.
They are playing for time, hoping each man dies, and they will not have to face these charges. And that's what this lawsuit is. It is charging the government with illegal conduct.
The state was adamant that regardless of Herman and Albert's treatment in prison, they were still guilty of the murder of Brent Miller. And so, despite the federal judge's ruling, Buddy Caldwell refused to release Albert. He was determined to get the conviction reinstated. The only place in Louisiana which could empower him to do so was the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals.
It's very easy to say I'm tough on crime, and if it's the last thing I do, I'm going to make sure that that prison guard killer, that cop killer essentially, stays locked up for the rest of his life. That gets you votes. It's wrong. It's not at all accurate. It doesn't reflect what he's doing or who he's supposedly protecting the state of Louisiana from. But it makes for good politics.
The Attorney General persuaded the appeals court to reinstate Albert's conviction. Once again, the criminal justice system closed its doors, and Albert was sent back into solitary confinement.